Today we're going to be talking about the Capital One SavorOne credit card, talking about all the major key points, whether it's the annual fee, the spending categories, any statement credits involved, while also looking at all the smaller points and nuances with the card and doing an in-depth comparison to other similar cards on the market. Oftentimes this card can be overshadowed by so many cards out there on the market, such as the Capital One Quicksilver or the Capital One Venture X. But if you do know how to use this card and use it properly, you can get so much value out of it. I'm first going to dive into the specifics surrounding the card, sharing how you can maximize your cash back with the SavorOne, and then I'm going to wrap up with some similar card comparisons to see which card is best out there for you. The first thing to note about this card is that it comes with no annual fee. Now, oftentimes, no annual fee cards can either be really good and hidden gems, or they can be pretty bad, but I can guarantee you that with the SavorOne, you're going to get so much cash back in some of the most common spend categories. I definitely put it in that hidden gem card category. Unfortunately, with no annual fee, we will see no statement credits inside of this card. However, when compared to other similar cards on the market, some of those little smaller points such as the benefits and the extra cash back rewards really set this card apart compared to other no-fee cards. Before jumping into those little perks, I do want to highlight the spending categories and where you will be earning the most cash back with this credit card. With the Capital One SavorOne, you're going to be able to earn 5% cash back on your hotels and rental cars purchased through Capital One. You're going to be able to earn 3% cash back at grocery stores, on your dining, entertainment, and on select streaming services, as well as 1% cash back everywhere else. I really want to highlight that 3% cash back at grocery stores. Typically, to get that spending category, you're going to need a card with an annual fee, or if you do have a no-fee card that offers it at grocery stores, it will not be at the level of 3%. I would go as far as saying that with grocery prices continually being on the rise and it being one of the most common spending categories, that cash back alone in that spending category makes this card stand out from all the others. In addition to those primary spending categories, Capital One also has some secondary ones that will offer you a little bit more cash back depending on where you spend. And these are going to include 10% cash back on your Uber and Uber Eats purchases, as well as 8% cash back on select Capital One entertainment purchases. So if you are someone that knows that you love live entertainment, or you do spend a lot with Uber and Uber Eats, getting some extra elevated cash back in those can make the difference in a couple $100s over the course of time. Now, good news is card holders will also receive some exclusive offers for some reservations at select restaurants, and you can also take all your cashback rewards and redeem them through PayPal and Amazon. From all the research I've done over the past year for my YouTube channel, I can tell you straight up that not many cards are going to be able to compete with this no annual fee card solely because of these spending categories and elevated cashback. So we've just taken a look at the card specifics that I think you should know before applying for the credit card, but I do want to talk about some specifics to the company of Capital One that could sway you in either direction of applying or holding off. The first thing to note with this card is that when you do get it, you will not have access to the transfer partners that Capital One has. If you do want access to those so you can take your cash back and redeem it for travel, you will need either the Capital One Venture or the Capital One Venture X credit cards. The good news is though, if you do carry one of those travel cards, you will be able to transfer points between your SavorOne and that travel card, so you can take all your cash back earned here and then redeem it for travel if that is something important to you. Although you won't have access to the transfer partners initially with this credit card, I do want to talk about some other perks with travel, as so many people love using their cash back for that. As a whole, Capital One is going to offer 18 fantastic transfer partners. Some of the more notable ones include British Airways, Emirates, and Wyndham. There are definitely a ton of great options for transferring your points out to travel, whether it be with airlines or hotels. However, when directly comparing to Chase and American Express, I would definitely have to say that Capital One probably ranks at the bottom for my own personal preferences. With that being said though, the value of every Capital One point is 1 cent per point inside of the Capital One portal. However, if you are able to access those transfer partners, you can reach upwards of 2 cents per point when you do transfer your points out. Now that's going to do it for the bigger points surrounding travel that I do want to highlight with the card without going into too much detail, but I do want to look at some of the other hidden benefits and other perks that do make this card stand out a little bit more. One of the first things that we're going to do is head under the benefits section on the website, which we can see there are 11 key benefits. I really want to draw attention to the 0 foreign transaction fees, the travel accident insurance, and the complimentary concierge service. With a no annual fee card, it's not always a guarantee that you will have no foreign transaction fees, so this is absolutely massive if you do plan on traveling abroad. The other point I want to highlight is under the protection section on the website. Here we can see that there's $0 fraud liability protection. So in 2024, this is becoming more and more common on all cards. However, it's just an added level of insurance that is nice to have. I definitely say that those are the biggest points that you need to know before applying for the Capital One SavorOne, but I do want to do a couple key card comparisons just to show you what else is on the market that's very similar in case it does suit you better. Now, two cards that come to mind for a comparison are the Amex Blue Cash Everyday Credit Card and a catch-all card such as the Chase Sapphire Unlimited. What you need to know is that all three of these cards come with no annual fee, so if that is something that's important to you, any of these options are great to go with. Now, with the SavorOne and the Chase Sapphire Unlimited, we're not going to see any statement credits, but even for a no-fee card, the Amex Blue Cash Everyday is going to offer us an $84 Disney Plus credit and a $180 Home Chef bundle credit. Where I think we're going to see the biggest difference between these cards is with these spending categories. We saw earlier that the Capital One SavorOne is going to give us that 5% cash back on our Capital One dining, as well as that 3% cash back on our dining, entertainment, select streaming services, and our groceries. With the Chase Sapphire Unlimited, we're going to see 1.5% cash back everywhere you go, as well as 5% cash back on your Chase travel purchases, and 3% back on our dining and drugstore purchases. And finally, the Amex Blue Cash Everyday card is going to give us 3% cash back on our groceries, 3% back on our gas, and 3% cash back on our online retail purchases. Without diving too much into each card, some other key considerations you might want to look at for applying for a card are the travel partners, if there's any extra bonuses with pairing up with other cards, and just the overall feel of the ecosystem. As a whole, I don't think you can go wrong with the Capital One SavorOne in 2024. You're going to get some great cash back at some of the most common spending categories. And like I said earlier, that 3% cash back on your groceries alone definitely makes this card a great one. If you aren't entirely sold on the Capital One SavorOne, I'll have a playlist linked with a ton of other credit card reviews in the description below. Those are going to range from other no annual fee cards upwards to cards that cost over $500 to carry. So there's definitely options for you to find one you like. Aside from that, if you guys could also go comment, like, and subscribe, it really goes a long way in helping me grow the channel. I'll see you guys in the next video.